Bianca, you alluded to this, COVID, and how that sort of plays into everything in your reporting. What are you seeing in terms of the impact this is having in education? Because in our last State of Race forum, we pointed out that there's sort of this disproportionate impact that it has on people of color.
Right, just like it's had a disproportionate impact on people of color in terms of their health. In Massachusetts, it's having a disproportionate impact on who goes to school. We are seeing that it looks like, sorry, I'm going to refer to my notes.
That's okay.
About 70% of children of color, or rather 2/3 of Black and Latino students live in districts where schools are starting the year remotely. And 70% of white students live in districts that are offering in-person school this year. So we can hope that remote schooling will be better than it was in the fall. In the spring. But we know that a lot of districts were spending a lot of time this summer focused on coming up with different plans and logistics and outfitting their buildings and so many different things that they didn't have a lot of time or energy to put into figuring out how to deliver the way that a lot of kids are going to be learning this year. So, I'm really concerned that, in districts where in-person school isn't an option, or in districts where it is, a lot of children of color have opted to stay home because they feel vulnerable. And I worry that the education they'll be receiving compared to their peers who are in person will be inadequate or less robust, certainly. So we already had an opportunity gap in the state, and I fear that it's going to become much worse this year.
Gloria, you agree with that this opportunity gap could widen potentially because of COVID?
It could widen if we're going to keep doing what we've been doing. So I've been giving a lot of talks lately about the need for what I call a hard reset. All of us have these devices that we use all the time, and sometimes they don't work. And when they don't work, we try a few things and we go online, look for a support group, but we eventually make our way to the store, and somebody who is 17 years old in a t-shirt is going to help us get this thing fixed. And they will tell us, I think I need to do a hard reset. Now, we don't want to hear that, because that means if you haven't backed that device up, all of your contacts, all of your photos, that's all gone. And they're going to give you back a device that looks like it did when it came from the factory. We are at this place in education, I think, where it is time for a hard reset. And it's not as if it hasn't been done historically. After World War II, Japan did a hard reset with its schools. Italy did a hard reset. It said, what we've been doing has been a disservice to our citizenry. So we're going to do something different. So as bad as COVID-19 has been, I agree with the Indian novelist Arundhati Roy, who says it's a portal. It's a dividing line between an old world and a new. And we can go into that new world dragging all of our old prejudices and our greed and our narrow thinking, or we can leave that behind and go into this new world, as she says, with light luggage and be willing to fight for this new world. So in some ways, I think COVID-19 can provide us an opportunity. Whether or not we'll take it or not, I don't know.
But Jamal, this reset that has to happen, it's hard to reset someone when we're not even sure exactly where this is all going and, frankly, where we are now. I find that schools are still struggling to kind of figure out things on the fly. So, yeah, it's important. This is a moment where I think we can have this reset at some point. But before we get to that reset button that we're going to hit, is there going to be a lot of challenges in between, especially for kids of color?
There are going to be many challenges. There's actually McKinsey, the consulting firm, has been done some research on this. And every student, students on average across the country are expected to lose approximately 7 months of school effectively is what the impact will be. Black kids are at about 10 months. And the worst is for just low-income students overall. And they say that the impact down the line to our GDP, which maybe might not be the best metric, could be up to $200 billion. So a lot of students will be adversely affected by this. And I've spoken to a couple of Boston Public School teachers, and one teacher just told me yesterday that there are students, we're using technology, we're using Google Classrooms, but there are students who are in middle school who don't know how to copy and paste. And what that tells me is that COVID is actually, amongst many other things, is also a flashlight that is actually shedding light on issues that have been below the surface. So before, you may not have had the opportunity to see what the disparities were between one community and another, particularly as it pertains to technology, which will be such a huge part of the workforce and jobs coming down the line. And to know that there are students who can't copy and paste while other students are doing programming and Scratch and so on, that lets us know that we're on track for a widening gap that will do a number, I guess, on our communities if we don't look at this through Gloria's lens and say we need a hard reset.
All right. Okay.